Hey everyone, it's Anwar at Cobblers Plus, and today I got a treat. You guys all know who this person is. Simon Kim keeps sending me some interesting stuff. I don't think I've done a video yet on some Chippewas. Maybe I have, but I thought I'd do a video on them, especially because for him, we're going to be doing a Vibram double sole, the one that everybody's been loving apparently. Well, not apparently, but for sure, everybody's really been loving it. And Simon wants these completely redone with new welts and the Vibram double sole. So come join us, check it out, and we're gonna be tearing these guys down. We do a lot of Chippewas, but I honestly don't remember if I did a video or not. So comment down below if you know if I did one. I should probably check, but I'll check later on. Right now I gotta get these boots going. Alright everyone, again thank you for joining us. So we're going to be starting up on these. First things first, wrong bottle. Got to grab some thinner to deactivate it because these are fairly dirty. Thankfully they're not a light color, and we're going to go ahead and take a little bit of a quicker approach with some deactivating solution. This is totally in here. Some of the cobblers tell me like you got to be careful, it's toxic. Well, you got to remember I grew up around this stuff, so I think I built up a strong enough immunity against it. And what isn't toxic these days, even the food we eat. Especially Trevor over here behind the camera. Well, he's not behind the camera, but I guess you can say he's always complaining about chicken. But all right, we're gonna give that a second. So for those of you who aren't familiar with our double sole option, with the Vibram double sole, it's something that I guess we may have coined already, but I haven't come across any other cobblers that really have been doing it like this before. They've been doing it similar. So double sole is basically this right here. This is what's called the Vibram Cristy Sole. It's a wedge design. It comes in black and it comes in neutral. Now they have new colors out and a different model number of the Cristy. They're a little bit different. If you want to check out that Soul Talk Sunday episode, I do have that up in our Soul Talk Sunday episodes where I mentioned the standard Vibram Cristy 4014 and then the newer version as well that comes in different colors. But what happens is with these Cristy soles, most cobblers, a lot of times what they do, they will sand this down a portion of the way, and then over top they put a flat Vibram sole. Most times it's the Vibram Sierra or the Clitter Lift style. So we're going to be doing that for Simon on these boots today because he loves them. As you can tell, he has worn them out. He likes the comfort of it with the double sole. That's one of the features that the double sole has, because it's got the Cristy sole for the cushion and the great distribution of pressure on the foot, while giving you great grip with that secondary sole that goes over top and greater durability, because the Cristy is a blown crepe which is softer, and so it's not quite as durable as some of the harder rubbers, but because the harder rubbers are durable a lot more, they aren't quite as comfortable. But with this double sole option, you get the best of both worlds. And then later on down the road, it could be very cost effective because all we need to replace would be that thin layer of Vibram sole that's the flat version on the top, instead of having to remove this whole entire sole like we are now. But these have been worn down significantly, and then Simon had requested again, he wants a different welt on these, and that's what we're going to give him. Sometimes we get new pairs. I got a pair of brand new Thorogoods that are brand new in the box, still not even worn once, that are shipped to us, that are getting the double sole put on there. And that's all up to whoever owns them. They want them, you know, they want to wear them, break them in beforehand, or do they want them brand new out of the box with... Alright, forgot where I left off at. But if you want the sole put onto a brand new pair of boots, and you see me do some of these videos with brand new boots and shoes and people haven't even worn them yet, leave them be. I know some of you out there are blown up like, oh, they're brand new, why are you resoling them? Because somebody wants a different alternative or option, or they just can't wear the boots or shoes in the condition that they're in. They need adjustments done to them at the same time. So now that we're opening these up, you can definitely see inside a little bit more. These Chippewas. I love Chippewas overall. They're a great boot, but there are some things that I'm not a big fan of whatsoever. And as you can tell on the inside here, I'm not a big fan of two things. First, we'll cover the obvious, that filler. It is a foam. It's just foam filler. No cork, no leather, none of that kind of stuff. That's definitely a horrible downside that we're not fans of. Might be nice and comfortable out of the box, but long term this stuff just degrades, falls apart, and doesn't hold up. So we're definitely going to be tearing that out and putting in some fresh cork in there for him. Then the other thing is the midsole on these right here. It's a little too soft. This isn't a standard midsole like we tend to use. We use a composite type that's a little bit denser. Obviously, it takes away from the comfort aspect of it when you use a denser material, but once that composite is broken in a little bit more, it's going to act a lot more like the cork for Simon on his boots. And we're definitely going to have to make sure we do that, because as you can tell, there's this chunk that got cut through. It's very stretchy. It just rips apart, falls apart. Not the best stuff in the world, unfortunately. But there is also this piece here that we're gonna go ahead and take off and try to save, but we're first gonna see how everything is height wise. This is kind of a little buffer piece that they add in from Chippewa. It's very popular. It helps build up the heel by 1/8 of an inch, just to make sure the angles are all proper on these boots. So let me clean out the filler here and get this cleaned up. We are obviously taking off the welt, so I don't have to remove any of the stitches, and take this other one apart because we've got the solution on there. So I got to do it kind of quick before it evaporates, and we'll take it from there. All right, everyone. So I've got the welt off the first one there, and I started this one, but I just wanted to show you. It's kind of nice pulling this welt off because the majority of the thread here that you can see sticking out is actually a chain stitch. So it's the same piece of thread that kind of loops over and over, and makes it a little bit easier, because majority of the welt you can just peel off like that right there. But there's a few spots where it just kind of gets stuck with the top one, so you kind of have to cut it. But we don't want to pull too hard, otherwise we'll stretch out the hole where the thread goes through on the upper. But look at that. I love it when that kind of stuff happens. But yeah, it gets a little bit stuck because the very tip here sometimes kind of knots up a little bit. Or it's not so much as a chain stitch, it looks like. Yeah, there's a little knot of a separate thread, so it looks like the bobbin section that they use has a longer loop, and so it makes it a little bit easier to just pull it all apart. There we go. Got that out. Gonna use our little awl here and pull out the thread from the inside right there. Look at that. Pulls out majority of that thread very easily. I love it when things like that work out, but it's not often that a lot of these shoes are like that, so you can just watch it. Beautiful. Now the other ones I'm just going to have to sit here and kind of pluck it out. This one's not that hard at all, which is great. Everything's fairly loose now because it's the type of machine that they use for the Goodyear welting, which is phenomenal actually for when it comes time to Recraft. Makes it a lot more user-friendly, in other words. It's one of the reasons I like Chippewa there. You know how we've got that foam that they used instead of cork. Again, you can't have everything in a pair of boots or shoes, especially for certain price points. It's just not practical, basically. So sometimes companies have to cut certain corners. I mean, a pair of Chippewas, if you wanted them to be, you know, up to par with cork and everything's perfect, the top-notch materials, you could easily be spending over $1,000. Now, how often do you see a pair of $1,000 shoes and are willing to spend the money on it, or a pair of boots? Not too often. Most of the time the expectation is that it's going to be some kind of exotic skin or something, and you know, you can't exactly have an exotic skin boot like this unless you're just going to be strictly using it for certain occasions, and that's it. But if you want it for an everyday wear, if you want it for work or anything like that, you're not going to be wearing exotic skins out like that. So if you want that perfect boot and everything, don't be surprised if you do find that perfect boot that's just CXL oiled leather. It's going to be over $1,000. Alright everyone, so it's a little bit noisy here because we got a few fans and everything going, but I've got the Chippewas here in our bath for now. This is a Swedish Bath. We're going to clean these. We're going to let them sit here for a couple of hours nicely, and then it's already getting close to the end of the day, so before I leave I'm going to take them out, stick some boot trees in there, and let them dry over the weekend, and make sure that they're shaped nicely and all the moisture is gone before we continue on. But I really want to make sure I desalt these and wash them in this solution here, because it's going to help remove sweat and, you know, any kind of mineral buildup from that, and then also any kind of mineral buildup that may occur from when you're wearing them outdoors and everything. But for now, they're just going to sit here and take a nice little bath, and then we'll clean them up, brush them some while they're still in the solution, and then take them on out and let them dry with those shoe trees in there. So for right now I'm done. For you guys it'll be a few seconds, but for me it's going to be next week over the weekend. So we'll see you later then. Alright everyone, so we've got the welt all stitched on and everything. Trevor did a good job on that. And now we've got a steel shank. Now I know these didn't have a shank in them before too much because of that piece right here. And obviously we're not going to be able to use it just because it's a cardboard, basically. If I take a chunk, see right there, it just breaks apart easily, just like a cardboard. So, and because we're going to be doing a double sole, we're going to be able to use the Vibram Cristy Sole in place to kind of adjust the height and everything properly. But for now, we're just going to fill everything in with the cork, get these going. I'm going to get the leather midsoles on these, and we'll see you back here in just a minute. Alright everyone, so I'll show you guys real quick. Got these all stitched up because this is going to get covered. We just went with brown thread there. It's not going to be really visible, but Simon usually gives me kind of free range. He did, however, request the neutral welt on him, but I thought the orange looked really nice there, and I really made sure to knock down that density without messing too much with it. Like, we can go even thinner stitches, or narrower actually, but I don't want to go too narrow, because unfortunately when you start going too narrow on a neutral color, I've noticed it just kind of like squeezes all the oils and everything and darkens up that welt way too much. So I decided to avoid that on these in particular ones. Now these were, it's not so much the boots that are giving me trouble. I've been having, one of those days where everything that can go wrong does go wrong. I've been getting more of those frequently. So what happened with my machine, it started acting out. The bobbin started, like, we tested it out on a different type of material recently, today actually, and I guess it messed up the overall alignment of how everything lines up, where the thread gets caught in the proper spot and everything, and because of that one of my needles snapped and everything. I had to get in there, change out the needle, change out the awl. The awl is what comes in from the bottom and cuts through the welt from the bottom here. Once that comes back down, automatically right away the needle comes down, and so the needle pulls up the thread, and I have to change out both, and those are two different kind of ways of doing it. So it was a little bit of a headache, in other words, but overall they're coming along great. Just gotta kind of clean them up. I did, however, for the welt before stitching, what I did was, because we're trying to keep this neutral, I did go through with some Saphir Seraphim cream and went through the welt so that it applies a thin coat of wax and some nutrition to the leather itself. So I put a nice thin coat, massaged it in, buffed it real quick. I did that off camera just because I had to do that kind of quick, and then all of a sudden this thing started going haywire on me. But thankfully we got it taken care of. I really think that looks nice with that orange stitch, and so now it's time to move on to the soles on these. Now Simon has another pair in here, so I'm thinking we might go kind of an opposite direction with the sole variants on this one versus what he's having on the other. So we're gonna I'm gonna see how everything looks. I want to kind of mess around with it before I really show you guys and tell you what I'm doing, but what kind of take it from there. The other pair, you'll see, we're trying to keep it a little bit more of a neutral color so that he has one that has a little more fun, the other one's a little more neutral, and you'll see at the end. I'll show you both pairs once they're all done, but for now I'm gonna go take it to the workbench, start getting it prepped, touch up some of these thread areas here, because some of these sometimes have to be burned a little bit, and get that going. So we'll see you back here in just a little bit. All right, everyone, so we're back at it with these again. Now, as you can tell, these soles are a little too long. I was actually waiting for quite a long time for these soles to get in. Problem was that none of our suppliers had this particular color in stock, and it took them forever to get them in for me. And sure enough, when they come in, they're the wrong size. But thankfully that makes no difference to us, because we're doing a double sole, so we're gonna be sanding off that bottom anyways. One thing I was gonna point out, which was very interesting about these, look how crooked that Vibram logo is. That's weird. It's super crooked. I don't know if the camera's catching it or what, but that thing is really weird. So but as you can tell, it's really long there. So I'll cut all this off here. I already got this one going here where it's cut off a little bit better, and go ahead and start sanding it. I was trying to decide, I was talking to Marcus about what color of the Sierra Sole we should use on here, just because we are keeping the welt and midsole neutral, and we were going to decide whether we're going to do the lighter camel color Sierra Sole or the black, because it has a black upper. I think the black might look better, but we'll know for sure once we sand this off. Obviously, Simon, whose boots these are, he's one of those guys that if I do ask him a question, he's like cobbler's choice, and sometimes like, they're your boots, man. Come on, Simon, give me at least something. Oh, he did give me something. He said he wanted a neutral welt, but the Sierra Sole and the red here, that's kind of cobbler's choice there, in other words. So let's figure out which color of Sierra we're going to do. But for now, let's take this to the grinder and sand it all down. Well, I should probably, before grinding it down, show you guys. So I took this front area to the 5-in-1 and cut it all around a little bit closer. It's still got a fair amount that's going to be sanded out. But this back end of the heel, obviously because the wedge is just a little bit too thick to fit under the 5-in-1. So there's a few methods. One, we could either use the bandsaw or use a knife as too. Using a knife sometimes is a little bit trickier, but it's a lot safer than the bandsaw, because the bandsaw goes straight down. It'll be a little bit quicker, but right under this arch area and some other areas, sometimes the leather kind of sticks out, so the bandsaw will slice right through it, and we don't want that to happen. So I'll show you the hard part of cutting these off. Obviously, nice sharp knife. For those of you who don't know, we actually sharpen knives here. It's not something we really promote too much, but I have a handful of people that bring in knives to me to sharpen up because we've got the belt sanders, and we've been able to save some really worn down knives because in some cases you're kind of left with no other choice but to use a belt sander. And all of our knives need to be very sharp. Wife's calling. I'll call her back. Gotta give you YouTubers some attention too. I've been neglecting posting videos for a little while. Unfortunately, I had so much going on at the time of this recording. So if you look back through history, you'll see a couple of weeks worth basically of no videos being posted, sadly. Just too much stuff going on. And some technical difficulties too at the same time. See, now right here, this is where the bandsaw would catch it, so I gotta be very, oops, if I don't slide this board around, there we go. I have to be very careful. Right there we go. Okay, now one thing I've noticed some cobblers that have an issue when they slice like this, there is an angle to it. You could either go straight up and down or flare it out. But if you flare it inward, you're kind of narrowing down the sole, in other words, and it's going to be tapered inward. And there's no way of salvaging that, in other words. Otherwise, it's going to be a very choppy job. So either you're going to flare it out or you're going to cut straight down. That's it. You know, that's the other issue with sometimes the 5-in-1. When you cut it too closely, the machine, well, the wheels, in other words, they press down on the crepe because it's soft, and it takes out chunks and makes it go inward a little bit too much. So for any of the cobblers watching, if you're doing the 5-in-1 or a knife, your goal is to make sure you flare it outward. It's always easier to sand down if there's just a little bit more sticking out than it is to have to deal with it flaring inward, and you're gonna taper down the sole and it's not gonna look pretty. And in some cases, when it comes to orthopedic purposes, the person who wears the shoes may lose balance quickly. But for now, let's go ahead and take these to the grinder now. Alright everyone, so I had to stop and blow all the dust off my hands in the boot, but you can see all that red there, well, orangish red. But for now, I took off the bulk of what we needed to off of here, and you may have seen a little bit of the Vibram logo there, but it's all gone now because it's a separate rubber piece, in other words, and it's gone. But now, since I took the bulk of it off, I'm going to go ahead and go through and make sure everything's all leveled out nicely, and mark up where I need to here on the edges. Now that we've got everything trimmed up, it's a little bit easier to work with the sanded edges as far as marking it down where it might need to be adjusted some. But these ones did have that little wedge there. It was like a cardboard type back on the heel area, and obviously since we removed it and we put a nice thick leather midsole in there, the Vibram sole is going to accommodate that additional wedge there. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure everything's all leveled out. I have to do the other boot as well, and then touch it up, and then we'll be ready to start Saphir the other sole. Just to give you an idea, there you go. See, that Vibram logo is gone because it's a solid rubber that they use on the logo, but the rest of the material is a softer crepe. And I've noticed this is definitely softer than the beige color one, which I have a boot up here with. Right there. That beige and the black color, they're a little bit denser material than what this one is because that's a new style. But I'm going to go ahead and get that taken care of, and we'll see you back here in just a bit. Alright everyone, so we're back here with these. Got them all sanded up and everything. Now, I'm going to go ahead and clean up the edging on here. I'm going to use some Saphir Seraphim Cream and Neutral, because we are just doing the edge dressing. We're not trying to take care of the uppers quite yet, but we'll definitely be taking care of the uppers. Now these ones, they're one of those that's kind of like almost in between a finished leather and a oiled leather. And the safest thing I like to use, for anybody that might be wondering, I mean, you can use, you know, Seraphim cream or something, but I like to use the universal cream. It's got a little bit less concentration of waxes and stuff in there than, say, the Renovatoire, and definitely a lot less than the Seraphim cream, but it gives it just that little bit on the leather here. But we're gonna go ahead and go around with the neutral first on the midsole and welt here, make sure it's sealed up. At the same time, be able to clean up the sole a little bit. I've been working at these slowly but surely. And then once these are all dry, all I gotta do is kind of buff them all up. But we're pretty much done at this stage with it. Got a few other shoes to finish up for him. Do some final touches. Pack him up and ship him out to him. I'm sure he's going to be excited to get these back, along with the other shoes as well. There we go. Just lets that natural leather come through, just like that. So once it dries, the turpentine's evaporated, the waxes that are in this cream are going to harden a little bit, and so once I take a horsehair brush to it, I'm going to buff it. This is going to bring out that shine and shimmer. But before I do all that, while it's all drying, I can get the universal cream and just apply a nice thin coat, get these conditioned up and looking much better than they are now. Lace them up and we're all done. But I'm not going to be recording because I talk too much in the videos anyways. On that end, once they're all done, I'll take plenty of pictures, so make sure you stay tuned at the end of it to see the after pictures. I think I have some before pictures of this one, but we'll have them up there as well. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed the video. It's a really cool Chippewa boot here for you with new welt on it, storm welt that is, leather midsole, a Vibram Cristy Sole in that kind of like orangish reddish color, and then the Sierra Sole here. It looks like I might have to get some of that dust out of there, and that dust gets everywhere during sanding. But if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. If it's a longer, more extended question with more details, please either call us or email us. You can find all of our information on our website at CobblersPlusCO. You can usually see that link right there in the corner of the screen somewhere here at the bottom. But definitely check that out as well if there's any services you want. Like this option here available, we don't have the colored Cristy Soles listed on there quite yet at the time of this recording, but we'll have it up there soon. If you're wanting a brighter colored, it's the same price as with the neutral colors or the black color. It just one of those things you can add into the notes section of the little PDF form that you place into the box when you ship things out to us. So if any of you are wondering, go to our website, again, CobblersPlusCO. If you see something you want, some kind of service or whatever, you can purchase through the website. Makes it easier. That way we can have your contact information, your shipping information, all of that's all together. Makes it easier to track on our end, and it makes it easier to ship them back to you as well. And that way you have tracking number automatically. If you have custom projects that's not listed on there, or if it's something just really abnormal, there's a PDF form that you can print out as well on the website under specialty projects and repairs. But otherwise, I hope you enjoyed the video. We're gonna go ahead and get these finished out, and once they're all ready, we'll take the pictures, and I guess from here on we'll see you next time. Don't forget to give a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, share the video as well, help the channel grow, and we'll see you next time.